of the library app, followed by a demonstration of Planet Library, which is the children's app, which we'll do, and then JR's going to talk about a couple of other things, our interactive signage and our Gizmo products. So Andrew, if I could ask you to move it along. This is really just a quick image here to give an overview of our product suite and how it all sits together. Everything that we do, whether on patron devices, so via apps, either the library app or the children's app, or on devices which are library owned, so the interactive kiosks, which JR will touch on, and Gizmo, which is our staff hardware and app platform, is controlled via a central web-based content management system. You can access that from any device with an internet connection, and you can then control content on the various products and interfaces that we'll talk about today. This is important because it means you've got one CMS controlling content on many things. So it's quick and easy to scale content out across all the various platforms. The one thing I would say though is that everything is modular. So many of our clients opt to choose one thing and only work with that, and maybe over time progress onto other products, but it's everything's modular. You can pick and choose as it suits your organization, and even individual libraries, obviously, within a consortium group. That's probably enough, Andrew, in terms of the kind of overview just now. JR's going to touch on interactive kiosks, etc. Before Andrew goes into the presentation of the app itself, though, just to flag a few things. Solus is probably not known at all to many people in the room or on the webinar, but this product has been live in terms of the app since 2012 and has developed extensively since that point. You will all probably be aware of Circe Dynix, the IHLS provider. So they resell the library app as Blue Cloud Mobile, and it's very, very successful. Currently the fastest selling library app in North America, but it's also got a global presence. Currently 4,300 or just over sites live across 5 continents. And it's sitting here supporting 10 IHLS platforms. It's actually slightly more than that, but all the big ones that you would expect, plus some smaller ones in various regions in the world as well. Also to add, it's multilingual and consortia friendly, and Andrew will touch on the consortia element. I think the next slide details a bit about that. Rather, we'll not hang on this just now, but he can go into this in a bit of detail as to how it can be scaled for consortias. And just to kind of finish on that, there are some examples here of some of the larger consortia groups that we're working with currently, the number of locations, libraries served in those, the annual circulation and status. A couple that you're probably aware of, Swan and RSA, CleveNet, Wyoming, Ontario as well. Sapling in South Australia is an interesting one because it's one IHLS instance for the whole state there, and it's they've been using our app product now for about 18 months, and it's working very well for them. But we'll touch on some of the usage and stats as we go through Andrew's demo of the library app now.
Okay, just confirm that everyone can see the screen. I've just changed the share to my desktop here, which has an app running in the right hand portion of the screen and the browser on the left hand side.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so what you're seeing on the right hand side here is the iOS simulator showing our app running. This is a demo app that we have that we use to show off various features of the app. So we have, just start on the home screen here. So when the app loads up on the user's device with your branding on the icon, and that opens up within the app, so that the logo that you see at the top there. Catalog search direct from the home screen of the app, ability to access account features behind the now standard hamburger menu, or also through a My Account button at the bottom. We have the ability to place a carousel across the middle of the app, and the content here is fully managed by the library service directly without having to come back through us. If I tap on more, you can see there's a few different feeds that have been loaded into this app. New stock, non-fiction, and young adult are loading there. And I can just easily swipe along there in a very kind of Netflix style access to browse content within the library service. I'm just going to show a different example for a live customer that's running in Australia right now. It's called Hume Libraries. They have a really nice dark theme. Their logo is showing at the top. Again, the catalog search and the carousel showing there. And then beneath that, what you see is a series of tabs. And these, again, are all configurable through the content management system, including things like join to create a membership, join the library. Now, obviously, once you've signed in, that icon would disappear. And a configurable set of other tabs. But I can easily swipe from one page to the next. And as a user of the app, I have control as to what's at the top of the app. So if I go into Preferences, I can see the list as it was defined by the library administrator, the list of icons on the home screen. But I've decided that digital library is the most important thing to me, and also PC reservations. So I'm going to tap on those and drag them to the top of the icon order. Now when I go back to the home screen, the first two items on there are digital library and PC reservation. So the user has total final control as to the ordering of the content of the app. So that's a basic app display home screen. I'm going to go into some of the features in detail. But what I wanted to show you is in terms of running within a consortium environment, I'll bring up the Swan Libraries app. Now, Swan went live only at the start of July this year. And when I open up the Swan Library app, I see Swan Library Services. I see their branding, and I see some very basic content on there. But the main thing to do in here is to sign in to the app. Now, I can either do that under the My Account screen, or as these guys have done, they've configured a home screen tab to take me straight to the sign in page. Through the CMS, we can determine whether it's numeric or alphanumeric logins, and PIN numbers or passwords, and depending on what that configuration is, the keyboard on your device would change based on that to either be a numeric keypad or an alphanumeric keyboard. So I'm going to sign into a Blue Island public library account. And once I've signed in, you'll see that the app has now completely changed and now reflects the app of Blue Island Public Library. You see the branding's different, the color scheme is different. So if I go into one of the sections, you see that the bar along the top is now the dark blue rather than the green of the overall Swan app. And the same with the UI elements. You can see that the home screen tabs have completely changed, and they're now completely customized to Blue Island Public Library. Now, Swan decided as a consortium to show all of their library locations within every library template. So we refer to this Blue Island app that you see here as a template within the app. And each library service can configure their own template, can have a user account that purely has access to their template, and can configure it as they see fit. However, what Swan decided as a consortium as a whole is that under the nearest libraries section, all users of all templates would always see all Swan library locations. So you would always see the nearest location to you, depending on where you are, based on your GPS location. So if I move over to the CMS, I'm going to sign in as a Swan Libraries account here, which is their master account, which has access to all of their templates. So we can see there are 97 templates currently active within the Swan app, plus their main root template. And you can see all of the channels. The channels are the library locations and all the content across the various user accounts underneath the Swan Library's primary account. Now, if I sign in to the Blue Island admin account, I can now only see a single app, and that's the Blue Island Public Library app. So if I select that app, and I can expand the home screen, and you can see on here are the various tabs that reflect the content that is shown on the home screen of the app. Now, Blue Island haven't opted to enable the home screen carousel, but if I click on Edit tab, Home Screen, you see a simple case of enabling that carousel, giving it a title, and pasting in a list of bibliographic IDs. That will soon also be augmented with an RSS feed from the ILS, so you can pull out automatic searches or build up searches, depending on the capabilities of the ILS in question. So we can define a hierarchy of structure here. So social, if I go into social, you can see we have the Facebook link, the YouTube link. They haven't got an icon for their Tumblr link, but if they had an icon, we can easily add that. We can edit those tabs at any time, and we can determine what those tabs do within the content management system. So they could be linked to specific pieces of app functionality, such as library search, my account. It could link to a content item, be it a web link, a video, a PDF, an RSS feed. That's often how we pull in events. So that's the events one that you see there. Or it could be to a channel of content. So if you have a series of local history content items that you want to upload to the content management system, you can do that. You can upload that content and then schedule it to a local history channel, and then create a local history tab within the app and make that tab show all of the content within that local history channel. We also have lists of channels, and that's how we implement nearest libraries. So if I select nearest libraries, you'll see the nearest libraries list within the app. Moving on to searching. So if I carry out a catalog search, let's choose something culturally appropriate for me, and I can see what the library has available. If there is cover art available, it shows. If not, it doesn't. We've got the title, the author, the media format, and the publication date showing on the search results screen. We have the ability to customize our search. So this isn't to the same degree as you would see on a desktop-based OPAC, but there's a reasonable amount of functionality here, and what we believe is the right balance of complexity and functionality for use on a mobile device. So I can search across specific branches, so there's search limits. I can search across particular fields, so if I just want to search on author, I can do that. I can search in specific collections, so in this case, these guys have set up a downloadable collection and a physical collection. And I can also select search across format within the library. I didn't apply the filters there, but I just want to come back up here. You can see we also have a total list of results within the app. So if I move over to RSACAT, which is the Resource Sharing Alliance, you can see I haven't signed in here, so I just have the default search. And they've determined that their default search should just be the physical items catalog. So that's configurable, and that's determined at the root level for that particular app. However, RSA have also configured their search targets and limits per institution. So these guys don't have individual templates. They have a single template for the whole of their app. But if I sign in to one of their accounts, 178, so I've now signed into my account. If I tap on the search, you can see that the limit is now set to default to Peoria Public Library. And that's because this user that I've signed into, home library is Peoria Public Library, and that's been configured so that any users whose home library is Peoria Public Library will see that as the default limit when they're searching. They can easily tap the X to expand that to all items. However, when you go out and back in, the limit is reset back to the default for that user. Sorry, for that institution. We are going to be adding in a future release the ability to, once you change something here to a different limit, to be able to save that as your default as the user, again, giving users ultimate control over their configuration. So I'm going to sign out of RSA and move back to the demo app that we had here. Sign into account here. So I've got a demo account here, which is signed into very secure PIN there of 1234, obviously. And now I've signed into the account and I have my barcode appearing at the bottom of the app. So the barcode button, if you're signed into a single account, has your barcode showing at the bottom. When you tap on my barcode, it shows your barcode. You can obviously then scan that on any optical-based or CCS-based barcode scanner. Laser scanners don't work with that purely because laser scanners cannot read off of glass. But that's a single barcode there. But another interesting feature of the app is we can also add linked accounts. So we don't have any linked accounts right now. So I'm going to add one to the app. So my child's account, which is 4001, is now been added to the app. And then when I tap on my barcode, you can see I still have my barcode here, but there's also a swiper. I can swipe up and down to view the other barcodes. Now, anyone that's tried to read or scan multiple barcodes on the same page will know the frustration of trying to get the right barcode under a barcode scanner. So we make it so that only one barcode is visible on the screen at any one time. And obviously, if you can have multiple accounts signed in, and you can simply swipe up and down between the different barcodes. So now I'm signed into the app. I can see various pieces of account information within the app. So I've got my linked account that I just signed into. You can see just above linked accounts, we have devices. Now it says 27 devices. That's quite a few, but this is a demo account. So this account has been signed into by a large number of people. And this is across iOS and Android. So this one here is an Android device. And the reason we have this is so that, let's say I've got my account signed into on my iPhone and my iPad, and I then lose my iPad, or it gets stolen, or I decide to sell it on and it hasn't been wiped. If I want to deauthorize that other device, then I can easily do that from any other device that is signed in to the library app. To save me having to change my PIN or password, I can simply deauthorize that other device. And the next time the user opens the app on that other device, or next time you take any action, even within the app, if it's already open, it will prompt them to re-authenticate against the IHLS. So looking at more traditional account management features, if I go into checkouts, you can see I have 7 checkouts available. I can look at each one individually. It gives me the basic headline information such as title, author, and due date. Some of these are digital items, some of them are physical, so it's a blended display that we have here. The user can easily tap view item to go straight to that item within the catalog. If it's a digital item that has the ability to read either via the web or linked to their app, we have the read now button, so as you see here. And if it's an e-content vendor that supports returning content items, you can also return that directly within the app here. So I have 6 items under my account, and I also can see the one item that's checked out under the linked account, which is the Rita account here. And you can see this is a physical title, so I can actually just renew that particular title. I can do that one by one, but I also have the ability at the top here, I've just pulled that to refresh. I also have the ability to either multi-select. Now these ones don't have checkboxes because, as you recall, there wasn't actually a renew button under any of these. So these ones are physically unable to be renewed. Now that could be because the e-content provider doesn't support renewing or other reasons. But the one where there's a checkbox, I can select that and I can go to renew selected, or I can renew all. And you can see the only one that was selected was the one that could be selected. However, I've renewed this a number of times already, so I can see the error message. And if I had selected multiple items here, I would see the status of that renewal process for each individual item. If it's renewed successfully, you'd see a green tick. And obviously this one did not renew successfully because I've reached the renewal limit. In this case, that message is coming directly from the IHLS. If this was a customer app, I would probably suggest that they improve that particular message, because override required is not the most obvious message there. But that is coming from the ILS, and then we send that out to the user individually for each item that has been attempted to be renewed within the app. If I go back to holds, I can see all the holds that I placed and also the holds under the other account. I have the options to change pickup location, or suspend or cancel the holds. Notice that this one is waiting, which is waiting for pickup. I don't have the option to change the pickup location of this one because we've configured in the content management system that items that are set to waiting are not eligible for changing. And that can be configured on a status by status basis, the actions that are available within the app. It may also be that your ILS will impose restrictions on there. And because we use APIs to connect to the ILS, there's no way around, there's no way that our app would be circumventing circulation rules, because we're carrying out the actions in the correct way using APIs, so the circulation rules are always enforced by the ILS. Much like checkouts, I can multi-select, but there are multiple actions I can take here. So if I hit select on holds, it asks me, do I want to multi-select for suspend, for resume, for cancel, or for change pickup location? So if I choose change pickup location, you can see that the two items where that action is not currently available, the checkboxes don't appear. But I can select the ones that I want to change pickup location of, and I'm going to change that to the main library. We'll see if it allows us to update the location. Those locations have been updated successfully. And then I'll go back to the ILS and just refresh the holds view from there. I could also do for all holds and then choose the action just the same, but it would obviously only apply it to those holds for which that action is currently available. So if I carry out a search, let's search again. Got a variety of titles here. Let's pick one of the books that are on there. I have the option to place the hold. I can see various information about the title. So they've got the title, the author. Selecting any of the blue links would then carry out a search based on that. So I could do a regicides juvenile fiction search. I could do an author search. We have the copy or holding information at the bottom. We also have the ability to show author notes and reviews depending on your content enrichment provider in place. If I select place hold, you can see the system asks me to choose a pickup location, so it defaults to my home location as the pickup location, but I can obviously override that. It also gives me the option as to which user to place that hold under. So it could be my account, it could be my kid's account, and I can simply select the other account and then place the hold under that other account. And that hold has now been placed. Good steward this demo account and cancel that. So let's go into Macbeth and let's just cancel that hold. Are you sure you want to remove the hold? Yes, I do. Yes, I am. And that hold's been removed from the system. So moving on down, various different features of the app that can be exposed. So as I said, sign up. You can add a reset PIN link to the app for the user to reset their PIN or password. I just remember that I missed one section under accounts. So if I go into fines, you can see the fines that are currently available on this, or fines that are currently levied on this particular account. So I've got the details of that fine, why it was levied, and I have the option to pay the fine. So we support a couple of different options, or will support a couple of different options for fines within the app. Right now we support the ability to link out to your existing payment gateway. If you have a web-based payment gateway, we can integrate with that. So that's what I've got showing here. So if I select pay all, it will take me to the payment gateway. It's been set up with this IHLS. And this is a Pro Pay. Oh, it's not letting me pay those ones today. Probably because I've messed around with this account so much. But we can link out to the page. That was actually an external page there. That wasn't within the app, although it is designed to look as if you are within the app. The other payment options that will be supported in the next couple of months include Apple Pay, Android Pay, PayPal, and also direct payment with credit or debit card through WorldPay. And that will all be within the app, so you won't go out to an external payment provider. But that will be, we're looking to launch that in October with some initial test customers with a wider rollout by the end of this year. So there's a few different options there in terms of fines payment. Again, all of this is completely configurable, so you don't need to have that turned on. It can be turned off within your app and can be turned off individually template by template. So different templates can have different configurations. So not everyone has to have the same setup within the app. A few other options here: scan ISBN barcode, so you can open up the camera and scan a barcode, see if the item is within the library catalog, and then see the title detail information as you would do if you had searched for the item within the catalog. And moving on, links to existing e-content providers. So whereas you may have some content providers that have their MARC records within the catalog, we can pull those out and we can take actions on those. There may be some content providers who don't have MARC records, or you don't have their MARC records within your catalog. You may wish to just provide access to those separately from the other content that is within the catalog. So if I tap on Digital Library in Hume, you can see we've got a nice formatted display for each of those other services that aren't integrated into the catalog. So if I select Canopy, it'll take me directly out to that e-content provider. So there are multiple different options here as to how we integrate the e-content within the app, depending on how you've integrated that e-content within your catalog. In an upcoming release with Baker & Taylor's Access 360 product, we'll actually be integrating the content into the app. So not just the transactional element and the discovery, you'll actually be able to find, check out, and consume Access 360 content directly within the app. And the reason we're able to do that is due to the unique way that Access 360 content is encrypted and it's protected through its DRM. It doesn't use Adobe DRM. It uses its own DRM platform. And that allows us to download the content into the app, both ebooks and e-audiobooks, and then actually consume that whilst completely offline, which will be a really exciting addition to the app, which is coming soon.
Andrew, this is Troy. I hate to interrupt you, but can you just, we have a lot of Cloud Library users in the room. Could you just maybe point that direction just so we can kind of see that flow? Now, and our Cloud Library bibs are in our catalog. I don't know if that makes a difference.
It definitely improves the experience. The one here doesn't have the Cloud Library bibs in the catalog, so we link out to their existing discovery site, which is obviously not as good. If you have those within your catalog, then it's a much better experience. So when they're in the catalog, they're discovered as any other content item. Let me see if I can pull up a different app, which may give you a better idea of how that would look. Cloud Library, these ones, that's Overdrive. I think the experience is similar to what you would see here for a BorrowBox item. So you can see the items appear within your catalog as part of a catalog search. When a user comes across one of those titles, when they open it up, they would have the option to check that title out using the Cloud Library APIs. And it would give them the option to then sync over to the Cloud Library app I can't demo that, unfortunately, within the simulator because you can't load third-party apps within the simulator. But I'll look out an existing example of a customer that has Cloud Library where that's in place, and I'll get that sent across, and you can just download that from the store. But essentially, the integration allows you to do the checkout process, and it also allows you to place holds and manage those checkouts and holds and see them in your checkouts and holds display within the app. But at the point of going to read, it would then take you out to their platform to actually consume. And again, that's because of the Adobe DRM. It's not possible to kind of to allow that to be disseminated into our app when it uses that type of DRM. But the experience from discovery through transaction or checkout is fully integrated. It's only at the point of consumption that you then go out to the third-party content provider, in this case, the Cloud Library app. Okay. So I wanted to have a quick show of the events within the app. I'm not sure if it's in this one. So we can pull in feeds from libcal, from evanced, from Google Calendar. There's a list of about 10 different library events and calendaring systems that have been used with our system up to this point. We pull that in and display it in a nice user-friendly display, and users can then go straight out to that particular item. So there's a couple of different ways of doing that. So Hume have their What's On link, and then they have some categories. They opted to not show the events directly within the app, but once you tap on one of the items, it brings up their Eventbrite feed for that particular branch. So that's showing there. So that's one option. Another option, if I bring up Sonoma County Library, so their events, they have broken down by category. So events for adults, school-age children, teens, preschoolers, etc. If I select on one of those, we can see it's pulling in the feed of events for adults. So that's today. And if I decide I'm interested in one of those items, I can simply select on that, and it'll take me out to the, in this case, libcal system for booking or further information on that particular event. Some upcoming features within the app include push notifications. So push notifications have three different modes of operation. The first is circulation notifications. So that's when your checkout is due for renewal or your hold is ready for pickup. Then we would push to the user a notification to say that they would see that their items are either ready, are ready for pickup, or they are we still there? Yep. Yep. Sorry, back. There. Yep, I've got you back now. Let me just bring up. There we go. So just to give you an example, I've got some screenshots here of the push notifications. So when you receive that on your device, obviously your device can be locked or doesn't have the app open. If you have multiple items for renewal, the push notification itself will actually be intelligent to know that and give you the option to automatically renew all of those items that are due for renewal direct from the notification itself. So you don't have to open the app and then go and find your account and then go to your checkouts and then select the items that you can plainly see are due for renewal and then hit renew. You can simply tap the renewal button directly from the notification. The app will then fire up and it will give you the status of those renewal attempts, just as if you had done a multi-select that we looked at earlier. That multi-select with individual statuses. So let's say two of my items were renewed successfully, but one of them, actually someone else has placed a hold on that. So I have to take that one back to the library. I will see that there and then from the status. And with those notifications, We can also see them on things like smart devices such as Apple Watches, Samsung Watches, etc. So some additional features of the app. So it's consortia friendly. Payments, as I said, will be integrated very soon into the app itself. It currently supports external payments. I'm just going to go back to the shared screen up here and share it. Okay, so looking at Bluetooth beacons, hopefully JR has a Bluetooth beacon with him that he can show you, he can pass around for those that are in the room, obviously. It's a small device that allows you to determine physical location within a space. Now, that sounds very generic and doesn't seem to mean very much, but what it does is allows the app to get a notification to say that it's near a specific ID, and then the app itself goes to our server and says, hey, what should I tell the user because they're near this particular beacon? And that's all configurable through our content management system, through the beacons page. So I can determine that I have my adult fiction beacon, because I'm going to place one on top of the adult fiction stack within the library. It's got an ID on the beacon, which we would put into the system. And then when the user walks into the range of that beacon, we can say, send them a message and say, we have amazing title. Collection. When the user walks into the range of that beacon, they'll get a pop-up on their device, even if it's locked and the app isn't running. We have amazing new titles in our adult fiction collection. And then you can determine what happens when the user taps on that notification. The app will open up and it can either go to a tab within the app, a channel, or a content item. So if you have an RSS feed that you can pull out of the IHLS with a list of titles that are the new titles within your adult fiction collection, the user will then see that list of titles. Another example could be if you have a piece of art on the wall and you want to place a beacon behind that, and you've got a video that has more information about the artist or that particular style of painting, or any other information that might be relevant to that particular piece of art, then the user can get a message to say, the artwork you're standing next to, here's some more information about it. And then you could link to a video, a web page, PDF, etc. So that would be a content item. You can also place one at the front door of the library to say, hey, come on into the library as someone's walking past the front door of the library, and have a link to your events page, your events tab within the app, so you can see what's happening today within that library location. So there's a lot of flexibility, there's a lot of options with beacons, and we're really excited to be rolling that out in the next couple of months. And then the last new feature which is upcoming is self-check within the app itself. So users will be able to scan the barcode on a title and then check that out of the IHLS, and they are checked to ensure they are using GPS, they are actually within the library branch. They also have the ability to check in titles using both GPS and a Bluetooth beacon. So if you place a Bluetooth beacon by your returns bin, it'll allow the user to check in whilst they're within the vicinity of that beacon. And you can set that range really low, so that the user has to be within, say, 6 feet of that beacon. So they can only actually perform the check-in process right by the returns bin. So that's great if you have barcode only and no security in the library. But if you have RFID, you have to deactivate the security of the RFID tag. And in our release in September, we will be launching RFID checkout in the app on both Android and iOS, which up until this coming month has not been possible in iOS because you could not read or write to RFID tags directly using iOS devices, thanks to restrictions that Apple had placed. But with the release of iOS 13, we will be able to read the data on an RFID tag, decode the specific data model that's in use on that tag, and we support about 10 different data models. Check out the item, and assuming the checkout process goes correctly, and the user is able to check out that item, we then deactivate the AFI code, the security bit on the tag, so the user can then walk out the library without setting off the security gates. The same process works exactly the same in reverse. We check the user is within the library using GPS and also a Bluetooth beacon, and the user can then check in that title by tapping their phone on the tag in the book, checks it back into the ILS, and then reactivates the security on the tag, and the user is then told to place that into the returns bin. Or we have the ability, depending on whether the ILS exposes that information, to tell them a different message. So let's say there's an item that should go on the hold shelf instead, or to a different returns flow. And then we can also support that within the app. So that's a really exciting new feature, which is due to be launched next month with the launch of iOS 13. And we think that's going to be it's going to make a real difference to libraries in terms of self-service, without really having to ever go to a self-check machine ever again, when you can check out and you can make payments directly on your device. One last feature I just want to touch on, because I think we are heading up against time here. I don't know how you guys are, is languages. So the app supports I think around 10 different languages right now, and we're adding support for languages all the time. We have a variety of kind of standard Western European languages, English, French, Spanish, also Portuguese, Polish, but we also have some Asian languages such as traditional and simplified Chinese, and some fairly obscure ones that you probably not have heard of. The Te Reo Maori is the native language in New Zealand. And the one at the top there is actually Welsh, which is the native language in Wales in the UK. And those are due to statutory requirements in those particular areas. So we added those languages. And it's a really straightforward process. We have a spreadsheet of around 400 language elements. And all we ask for is another row in that spreadsheet with the new language. We'll soon be adding a number of other languages, including Russian, Vietnamese, Somali, and also in the release in October, right to left language support. So we'll be able to support both Japanese, various Persian dialects, and other Middle Eastern languages within the app. So it's really important, obviously, when you're dealing with a diverse user base. And I should say that if I was running this app on a French iPhone, or my settings on my iPhone were set to French, when I opened the app, I would see the app in French. I wouldn't have to go to the language option to switch the language, or passer une autre langue, as it is in French. I can simply switch. I can simply open the app, and it will automatically be in French. Obviously, if my language on my device is set to one that's not supported, it would fail over to the default language within the app, which, as you can see in this app, is the English United States. But that little flag there just allows me to explain one other feature within the CMS. So as well as the built-in language labels, which we provide, or you can provide, and can be changed, any content within the app, any publicly visible or visible text within the app, on the CMS, you'll see a box that has this little flag in it. If I click on that flag, I can easily get a translation for, well, BC Mobile doesn't mean much, that's a name, but I can get a translation for that label or that language element into the various other different languages that we support within the app. But if I click on Edit Languages at the bottom of the page on the CMS, I can see all of the languages that are currently enabled within this app. I can see that the default is currently set to English US. However, I can also change all of the text, all the built-in text within the app directly within the CMS. Like I said, there's quite a lot of language elements in there, but they can all be changed through the CMS. So if you decide that you don't like that label, within the app. If you don't like the phrase, let's say your library didn't use the phrase suspend hold, you use the word pause instead, then you could easily go into the language elements and look for that suspend hold and change it to pause hold. So it's completely configurable and customizable. And again, that is per template. So each individual library with its own template can also configure that to be different than any other templates within the same app. Okay, I think that covers off pretty much everything I had here. JR, Neil, is there anything that I've missed? Because invariably I'm sure there's something that you'll remind me of.
I think you're good.
Same.
Okay, I'm not able to see the chat window right now, so I don't know if there's any questions in the chat. Let me bring that up. I don't see anything.
But we may have one here in the room.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
I have a ton of questions, so I almost feel like I should ask a few and then let somebody else ask, and then if we have no more, then we can go back to me.
Sure.
So how many Polaris libraries do you have who use this product?
Are you able to hear the question there, Andrew? It was just on Polaris sites, how many we have. We actually have our first one that's going live. It's TRAC in Alberta, the Regional Automation Consortium. So they're just entering testing mode currently on, I think they're tiny. They're only 178 locations.
But you think that might be the only one Polaris ILS library similar? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Gotcha. Which actually kind of leads to my next question. I think when you showed the list, I think your largest consortium was 222 members, and we're almost double that. So fast forwarding, if let's say we went with this product, what kind of drain would we put on your existing system, and what sort of fixes would you have for that? Because I'm just assuming that when you bring in something this size into your current technological infrastructure, it's going to mean that we might overload something. I don't know, maybe not.
I think that's probably unlikely. I mean, like I said, so the individual locations there, I think we're showing 222. But we have quite a number of sites that are kind of that size or maybe a little bit larger. So our infrastructure is, like as you saw earlier on the slide, is currently running for about 4,300 locations. So I can't see this being any sort of issue to add 500. We literally just added about 300-400 with the London Libraries Consortium, which is half of the city of London, which is, I think population-wise is around 50 million people.
It's a lot of people.
So yeah, so that's a pretty big one. We added that. That was part of an ILS migration, and they went live with the app at the same time. And I don't think we even noticed an increase in utilization in our servers. We do have a fairly robust virtualized server infrastructure, but we do monitor that, and we were able to add and scale out as required. So, but I can't see that being an issue on our side.
Just an add-on point for that is some of the other app products will take a copy of your database and put it into the ecosystem. In this case, it's just API calls. So it's using sort of the existing Polaris infrastructure that's sized and scaled and just hitting those servers on direct calls from that. And there's a reporting mechanism that under the hood, it showcases how many searches were done, how many checkouts were done using each API call from that. So they've been at this for quite some time, and I think the architecture isn't affected as it would have been in the older previous generation.
Okay, and I'll ask you one more question and then I'll pause and let other people. So the PC reservation aspect of it, how does that work, or is that more contingent upon what libraries allow their PC reservation to do?
It's contingent on what you allow them to do, and also the system that you have in place. So the one that you saw on the app there is a web link to a responsive booking page on that particular PC reservation system. So we have the ability to pass through the barcode number to specific websites. So if the PC reservation system allows you to pass the the user's barcode number through to as part of the query string, then we can pass that in. So rather than them having to authenticate again or provide their barcode again, then we can do that. But again, that's dependent on the PC reservation system in question.
Okay, that's it. All right. Anybody else?
I just had one question. Who actually hosts the templates for each library?
They do.
They do.
It's all in the cloud. So there's no hardware that we have to buy or anything.
Okay.
There's obviously a lot of configuration.
Right.
But yeah, they host everything.
Okay.
So that was actually going to lead to my next question, because we do have so many libraries with different levels of interest and involvement in something like this. I'm looking around the room, and these are libraries that are probably going to be highly involved in the development of their template, but we're going to have some that want it to work right out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a template that we could set up as a starter template for everyone, and then give access to libraries who want further customizations?
Sure. So let's give you some examples. Swan, as you saw there, have 97 templates, and they just went live in one go with 97 templates, which was great. They'd got all their stuff and they got all their ducks in a row and got it live. That's probably not normal. When we went live with Southeastern Ohio libraries, SEO libraries. They went live with one template, and they've been adding about 3 a week for the last 4 months. So as libraries are happy and as they're able to create their templates, then we build them. And once they're happy for them to go live, it's simply a case of changing a drop-down in the CMS, and then they become active within the app. If a site doesn't have an active template, then they'll just see the root template, so the one that you first see when you sign in. So I mean, the app will just work without having a template. It will just remain on that root template. So RSA Cat, which is one that I showed earlier, I think they've got around 70 or 80 locations, but with a single template, and they've got that set up. They originally didn't intend to get any more templates. They intended to have a single template app. But they found that as they've been going through it, then what the people that were managing it thought was the case, that everyone would be, all sweetness and harmony. When people started using it, that's not been the case. So they may add templates over time. So yeah, we can either do a batch, or we can do them one by one, or you can do them all at once. It's entirely up to you. South Australia have around 70 templates. They have 150 locations, so I should say that not every library has to have their own template. So if you have groupings of libraries, so let's say you have an authority that has maybe 5 or 6 libraries, you may want to have one template for that grouping of libraries, and then the library branches would appear underneath that. So they've got around 70-ish templates and 150 locations. So they've got some sites that have a single location that have their own template, but in the city in Adelaide, there's something like 10 or 12 library locations under Adelaide City Libraries. So there's an Adelaide City Libraries template. But they went live in January last year, and they finished getting all their templates in place, I think, towards the end of November last year. So there's absolutely no rush. There's no need to do it all at once, and we can schedule them. We can push them out as and when is appropriate for each of the libraries, and they don't have to all take it.
Right.
Yep.
Quick point on track. They're deploying one shot track, and then over time, some of their larger libraries may get involved to do their own templates, but they wanted ease of deployment. Let's have a one-stop shop, get everybody comfortable with that, and then go down the path. So,
Would it be reasonable that potentially you could have the base template and then offer up 3, here's a little bit more, here's a little bit more, here's a little bit more? I'm just wondering who will pay the cost of, let's just say everybody goes with the base and I decided I want 5 more, and then it becomes 10, and then it becomes 20, and before you know it, it's 97. Who pays for that?
I think that's a great lunch discussion.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yes, let's hold that
Okay.
one.
Okay.
So Andrew, while we have you for a short little bit more time, were you going to show a snapshot of the children's, or are you out of time?
I don't have the children's app here, but I'm wondering if Neil can possibly take over at that point.
Andrew, maybe you could take a question or so more while I disconnect from this Zoom on my laptop and log into it on my phone.
Sure.
And then Troy, if you could add me as a presenter when I'm logged in on my phone, that'd be great. And I'll give a quick overview of the children's app.
Do we have any questions from our remote people on Zoom? I want to make sure you guys are heard. You can either type it in, or I'd prefer you just unmute your microphones and ask the question. We'll give them a few seconds to find their unmute button. Rick, I know you have a question. Come on, man.
Did I have more?
And I have another one that one of our committee members that couldn't be here today had asked, and I think I answered the question, but I would be interested in your response as well. Polaris is mobile optimized. Why would we spend additional dollars on this secondary product?
So if you heard that, Andrew, it's saying Polaris is mobile optimized, which is responsive design. Why, and what are some of the advantages of the device?
So customers tend to expect to see you in the App Store. And once you're in the App Store and you're running locally on the device, there's a number of things that you can do that you cannot do through a mobile website. And those all revolve around access to the actual hardware itself. So things like accessing the camera for barcode scanning, things like accessing the NFC chip in the device to carry out checkout directly within the library on RFID, or again, using the camera to scan the barcode to check out items within the library. It also includes things like the beacons and the push notifications. So all things that require you to access the hardware locally on the device, you cannot do through a responsive website. That's not to say that there isn't a place for responsive websites. Absolutely, if you have a website out there, then it should be responsive. There shouldn't be a website these days that is not accessible in a nice way on a mobile device. But this just takes the experience a step further to allow you to have a great mobile-first experience, but also access the hardware of your device to unlock additional functionality.
Yeah, and there's that's a whole discussion there on the finance and money, whether people take money or libraries take money for events or for fines, fees, because that's a whole hornet's nest as far as management of that. But just an interesting observation, as more and more consumers are using their devices for Apple Pay for coffee, or Google Pay, PayPal, between different things. So also taking advantage of apps that are already present on phones and plugging into the library infrastructure, transactionally speaking.
Okay, let's take a question online here. I think Rick was trying to unmute himself.
Yeah, hi. I've got a really tight schedule today, so I'm going to have to go soon, but this is really exciting to me. And it's almost like you guys have been listening to librarians. You check off a lot of boxes here. I think the devil's in the details, and there will be a lot of work at the consortial level to figure out, who needs what, who gets what, and who pays for what. It'd be incredibly complex, but I'm excited and want to continue this discussion.
What I would say to that is I think it's evidence that we're not very imaginative. We're really not great at thinking things up. What we do is we talk to people and they give us ideas, and librarians are great at giving ideas, and we take those ideas and we make them work. And that's why it probably sounds like we've been listening into your conversations, because almost all the functionality that you see on the app has come from suggestions from customers.
Yeah, it solves problems, and well, I won't compare you to others, but it solves problems.
Okay, Neil, your phone is broadcasting, so if you just switch to the Planet Library app, it should...
Yeah. Can you also hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. So just to give you a very brief bit of background into the reasoning behind Planet Library, Andrew and myself have children who are completely and utterly addicted, like I think almost all children of a certain age, once they get out of what you call diapers, to using phones and accessing content. And it's becoming increasingly difficult to encourage children to read and to use the library. I don't know what it's like where you are in Illinois, but here libraries do really well with younger children coming in with parents for things we call them bounce and rhyme sessions. And we were knocking our heads together thinking, wonder if we could do something on an app that would encourage children, you know, who are going into school to start using their library more by encouraging them actually to use their device when they're in the library. So we built what we call Planet Library. Cersei Dynamics are starting to market a version of this under Blue Cloud Mobile for kids, but our version is called Planet Library. And the idea here is that we've built a platform that will be more appealing to children visually than the library app, which is obviously designed probably for teens through adults, albeit what we're hearing from some of the initial usage is that this version is actually pretty appealing to all users. I'll go through each of these functions in turn, but in short, it's a library app for children. It allows you to do the vast majority of things that the library app does. It's based off the same content management system as well. So in terms of scheduling content from the library's perspective and integration with things like the IHLS and other library systems, all that work's already done, which is great. But it's gamification, if you like, of the library and encouraging people to use it, children to get rewarded for using, etc. So anyway, I'll go through each of these things one by one and then maybe take any questions at the end. Under user profile, again, as Andrew said, with the main app, everything is configurable by way of naming conventions, etc. So holds here would be reservations, etc. And that's all interchangeable. Within the profile, you see a user profile which is a bit Minecraft-esque in itself, so children can create their own characters and use that. They can check their holds. And obviously, as Andrew demonstrated in the main app earlier on, they can cancel holds or change the location or suspend them, etc. as well. And they can check and see, you know, whether they get checkouts. If they do, they can extend those loans. There's nothing currently on this test account, though. So that's user profile. Children can create their own wish list. So they can either manually add a book by typing in a keyword or title, or they can scan a barcode. In this case, it's searching an ISBN and pulling that up. That was quite an obscure book I was looking at there. So the reason it's not got a book jacket in the library. And then when they've got their wish list, they can cancel items off at any point in time once they've read them. They can submit reviews. Again, creating a review simply by typing in the title or the keyword, author name, etc. of the book they're reading, or scanning the item barcode as well. And then they can keep a record of the reviews, none in this account here. Obviously, search is, again, exactly as Andrew showed and demonstrated on the library app. And there are a number of search facets that can be added there as well. It's their digital library card. So again, like the library app, it's the card that can be used either at self-check or when they're going to a staff desk or whatever. Accessing e-resources, they can search obviously for ebooks, e-audio, e-magazines that are relevant for children. They can search their nearest libraries, again in the same way that you can with the main app, and get more information on those libraries. They can find events which are relevant for them. In this case, searching for some events for teens in this library service. And then the last thing, and this is really the key element, and apart from the UI differences, the key reason for building this app, it's built on an entirely different platform from the library app. We use Unity, which is a games development engine for building this application.
And the idea here is that you encourage people and children to use the library and reward them for doing so. So that's visiting the library, reading, submitting reviews. We're just about to add in an integration that will allow people to be rewarded for participating in the summer reading challenge, which we hope through this will be extensible year-round as well. And the other thing we're looking at doing and have done is integrate a character hunt. So excuse the background of the room here, but looking for some characters in this. Should be a couple baked in. So here's one, and I've collected that character. And then what happens is that character appears in the list of characters that we've collected. So it's a bit like Pokemon Go for the library. This is working off the Bluetooth beacons that Andrew described earlier on. So it's not using GPS or anything, it's working off the beacons, and we can spawn characters, or the library can control that, and we typically say up to 5 characters a week for children to collect when in the library. As they collect the characters, obviously they can get, they've got that character, they keep that character, there's a backstory, there are super characters that you can collect. It's a bit slow there, so I'll just flick off that. As they're collecting characters and taking actions as well, so borrowing books, submitting reviews, etc., they're unlocking games, and there are a series of games that we've developed and integrated into the application that children can play. Some are semi-educational, some are just all about fun, but as they're playing the games, they're using up their tokens, and to get new tokens, they've got to continually go back to the library, use the library service, collect characters, which will enable them to play the games on an ongoing basis. And they can obviously access those games either inside the library or outside the library. In terms of the games, there are highest scores, and you can check your local scores, your regional scores, or your national scores. And we're going to add in international to that as well. Now, what that means in terms of local, that would be your local library. Regional could be in terms of a consortia group, or just a state, etc. Achievements, that's another thing that's worth touching on. So kids love to be getting tokens and badges, and there are a whole series of challenges in here currently around playing the games. But we're adding other challenges in relating to the reading challenges that we'd mentioned, and people will be able to unlock further tokens, etc., for doing things like submitting reviews as well to build those up. So that's a quick overview of the children's app. Obviously, if there's any questions, please feel free to fire them across, and we'll try and answer them now. JR can also give you access to a demo version of this, which is really what you've just seen just now, and you'll be able to have a play about with it as well.
I mean, I guess I don't think you do, because you've only showed me this one, but you don't have other interfaces for different age levels. I mean, this is going to sound critical, but to me, it focuses on an age group of kids where I find that parents are somewhat hesitant to want them to have a phone. Like, a lot of parents sort of have an arbitrary line where they say, like, I really don't want my kid to have a phone until 8th grade. Unless maybe they come from a family where the kids or the parents are divorced, and then sometimes that puts in more of a need for the kid to have a phone at a younger age. And these are just observations as a parent that I have seen. So when I'm looking at that and I'm thinking about, like, and I don't know, maybe the data isn't showing that, but it seems to me that I see a lot of families in my library where the kids were that platform in terms of, like, just the graphics of it and the interest level of it. It seems more 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. And if I'm thinking of kids not getting a phone till maybe 7th, 8th grade, and then high school, I don't see that graphic being of huge interest to that older age group, that kind of tweeny age group, I guess.
Yeah, that's a very valid point that you brought up, but think about all the parents that bring their children to the library, and while mom or dad is looking at other things, that the child can engage. Because the beacons that I passed around there, the children's app works off of the beacon in the children's zone. So we're thinking, and this is very early rollout, but University Park has done a very interesting job where they had focus groups with children and parents. They created bookmarks, they created posters, and wanting to tie that into some achievement things that Neil talked about there. So it's an interesting dynamic here, and would totally agree that there's parents, and I was one of them, that says no cell phone until. However, lots of times kids will use mom or dad's phone, which could also be in play.
JR, yeah, I was just going to say.
So the beacon is an additional cost, right? It doesn't come with.
They are very inexpensive. These things are like $20 a piece.
Okay, that's what that was a question.
Yes. And Neil, you're going to add a.
Yeah, I was just going to add two things. Andrew did mention the word tablet. I think 100%. We are aiming this at really probably 4, 5 through to 10, 11 years of age, because that's here, and I don't know what it's like in Illinois when children are starting to go to primary school. That's when they're starting to drop off from a library usage perspective. Totally take on board the point regards the user interface and the design around that. It is aimed at that age group. We have thought about a slightly different user interface for the kind of teen marketplace, but there's a crossover point into the adult app as well. Definitely, though, in relation to children of that age group, access to tablets is significant. So, again, we're not just saying it's the person's phone. It could be their tablet. It could be a library device as well. It doesn't obviously necessarily need to be, the person's own device or a parent's device. There was a concern when we started to liaise with libraries over this idea about 2 years ago. That what about children who, from an economic background, don't have access? Their parents maybe don't have access to devices. Now that's becoming less and less because mobile penetration is obviously colossal. But libraries in that case were saying, well, we could give when people are in the library, give access to use our devices, our tablets, to play. But yeah, totally take on board the point, and it's 100% right in terms of appeal of the UI there.
Yeah, I've definitely seen cases where parent says a younger child, it's like they can't have a phone until they get older, but they can have a tablet, even though a tablet, 90% of it is just a big smartphone, yep. But of course they can't make calls, and there's some features that aren't on there. But
in order to collect the coins, though, you'd have to be logged in when you walk in the library. Is that how that works? They just slip in that way, or what?
Yeah, and you collect coins for collecting characters or for borrowing books. We can, though, so the version I just demonstrated had effectively unlimited coins assigned to it. So, for instance, if it was on a library device, then that could just be a device that people can use and have access to. It could still have the character hunt enabled, but in terms of being able to play things, then we could just assign unlimited coins to that device.
In terms of user walking into the library, it would be they would have to be directed to install the app in some way. Once they've got it installed, they can then use the character hunt. They don't actually have to be signed into a library account to use the character hunt, as long as they have the app installed on their device and open up the rewards section of the app.
But you do win me over with the Dewey Decimal Quiz. If you want to impress school-age children, you just make them yell out a subject and you tell them what the Dewey Decimal number is, and they think you're like magic. It's what I do when I have like school-age kids in my library and we're talking about the library. Come on, tell me anything.
So we can continue some if-then scenarios over lunch here. And any other questions for Andrew or Neil before they need to sign off?
Do we need to do an on-site demo in on the other side of the pond here to, did we need to take a trip to Europe?
It's there for the taking.
Going.
Right, she's going.
We'll send Janet your way, Neil, and she's going to be there in a couple of weeks.
We have entertained many librarians from Australia and Scotland already, so if anybody is over at any point, please feel free to get in touch.
Did you have more on your list?
About the other thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Cassandra, do we want to keep the conversation going with the other participants online, or?
We're gonna, I think because the food is here, I think we can break to eat. If you guys would like to stay and chat with us, you're more than welcome to, but I think that at this point, we'll be discussing this much more in depth in our committee meetings. So it's entirely up to participants if they'd like to stay or not.
And I will throw it out there that we have, our partner Sorcy Dynix has developed, Andrew is showcasing it there, but it's a downloadable app. So for those that are keen, and the value of that is that there's patron accounts. So you can log in and really see the My Account information, because that's where a lot of this functionality really comes to play for the end users. So if and when that makes sense, can share that with you. And also there's a Planet Library download available with a login that you can sort of sample. That's what I've been passing around with my tablet here. Great. Well, thank you very much, Andrew and Neil. Have a good evening, and we'll catch you on the next channel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. See ya.
Stop the recording now.